Hey guys, we're in North Vancouver, British Columbia, across from Reckless Shipyards, getting to check out a whole bunch of these Stromer bikes back to back, and I'm really focusing today on the ST3 Pinion Launch Edition. So you can see this beautiful metallic red, that's the special launch color, but it also comes in white or deep black. And the white frame, they offer it in this comfort configuration, which to me, it's like a step through, kind of. It's mid-step actually, because it's got that taller top tube. A little bit more approachable. They offer this in 3 frame sizes, which is wonderful. So you get really good fit and control. These bikes are super high quality. They're a little bit heavier. This is about 72 pounds right here. We are on the large frame. And with that extra weight, you're getting a high capacity 814 watt-hour battery, super powerful motor, 44 newton meters of torque. And this is a gearless direct drive system. So super smooth, quiet. It has regenerative braking. It's really special in the e-bike space. You don't see this sort of drive system very often, nor do you see this sort of drive train pinion. Okay, you can see that on the crank arm right here, but we actually have a special bottom bracket that is 568% gear ratio. Think about like a 10-tooth sprocket up to like a 50-tooth sprocket. That would be 500%. So to see 568%, that's massive. And then one of the other really special things about Pinion is that the steps between those gears are evenly spaced, versus sometimes on a traditional cassette, you get like, it's just not as even. There's a bigger jump between some of the sprockets here. The Stromer also has an internally geared Stromer Archer 5-speed. I think this is like 310% gear ratio. And the benefit of any of these like internal gearing systems, whether it's the Pinion back here or the Stromer Archer internally geared hub, is that you can use these Gates carbon belt drives. They're super clean, super quiet. And in this case, we have this like special edition red. I've never seen a colored Gates carbon drive in person before. So that is really special. And I want to point out that in order to make this work, they have a cut here in the frame and everything's color matched and stuff, but still a very sturdy platform. Coming back to that high speed, you can see we have this sprung sort of chain tensioner there as well, and we have a higher clearance on this than a traditional chainring. This is all super fancy hydroformed aluminum alloy. We have the integrated battery right there on the frame, about 10.5 pounds on the motor, 10.3 pounds on that battery pack. Beautiful fork up here with the 15mm through axle, boost hub spacing front and rear, and it's just the welds and everything. This is always something that stands out when you look at a Stromer. 31.6mm on this seat post, so you could swap this out for something like this. A Kinekt suspension post gives you a little bit more comfort. You'll notice that this bike does not come with a suspension fork stock, but of course Stromer has an answer for that. This is the Wren inverted suspension fork, really buttery, very smooth, and I love how you can see the fender here. It's mounted to the lowers and it just tracks the wheel and hugs it really closely. These aluminum alloy tubular fenders have always been a standout for me. And then this clean, sporty RackTime compatible with some of these cool accessories. You see the bag over here, you can see the basket. It's a very capable system. I think, do they also, Tony, have like some sort of a pannier that's compatible with that rack? Oh, there it is. So we got a pannier.
Waterproof, lightweight, single-sided.
What I love about this rack is that if you aren't using it with any cargo, it's just very slim and it kind of disappears. You notice you don't have these front support arms. That's because this is such a sturdy fender and there's extra reinforcement like metal under there. And the weight capacity is actually pretty high, 22.5 kilograms, which is roughly 50 pounds. I see other racks, sort of aftermarket stuff, that's rated at 25 kilograms, 55 pounds. So this isn't too bad. So this is the large size frame, 175mm crank arms. So they're sort of sized with the bike. Really nice platform style aluminum alloy pedals, with the diamond pins. They give you a good surface area and good traction. This is almost like a mountain bike or kind of a BMX pedal. And back here, we've got some integrated lights from Roxim, 5 LEDs and a down light, which would shine on an optional license plate for parts of Europe. They have almost like a moped or something. And then this really great headlight. I'm going to show those in a minute, but I just wanted to do the walk around. And a minute ago, I was talking about the 31.6mm seat post, 31.8mm standard handlebar interface with like a clamp design. So I've reviewed the ST5 recently, and the stem was integrated into the handlebars, and it was like lightweight carbon, you know, it was kind of a custom thing, so much so that you couldn't necessarily replace the handlebar as easily as you could in this case. And I love the neoprene zips over the wires. It makes it seem really clean, and then you can see they're internally routed here through that stem. The stem is a little bit wider, so if you were looking at, you know, certain handlebars start to curve back or up fairly quickly, and so you would, you know, at least you have the option to experiment with this. It's a little bit more open source than the ST5, which to me is actually nice. This is still very expensive, $9,200 US, 2-year comprehensive warranty, 10 years on the frame, and of course you've got shops who can give you some of that support and, you know, help you get fitted and get you all those accessories and stuff. Love these GS1 Ergon ergonomic locking grips. I actually like the back sweep on this. It's fairly comfort oriented while still being aggressive. And then this is the steeper stem that's optional for that comfort package if you went that way. Really great brakes, the same brakes I think we had on the ST5, TRP, hydraulic. They both have brake light activation and recoup. Look at that, the light came back on. Running light right here with, I can't miss this, look at this, there's a USB plug in here for running accessories or maybe charging your phone while running the Stromer app, the OMNI app. 4.5 watt output. That's incredible. I mean, I love, you know, just sort of the electronic option, especially when you have such a high capacity battery. But anyway, with the brakes, 203mm rotors, quad piston calipers up front, and then dual piston in the rear. And there's this optional Blubrake, like anti-lock brake option too.
Yes, exactly. So it's basically, it's got another rotor inside the larger rotor, and it basically modulates between the two calipers to give you the same sort of sensation as an electronic system would, only it's a mechanical system.
Pirelli tires. These are 27.5 by 2.35, so they're actually fairly wide, and they're moped rated. They're a little bit thicker. I don't think you're gonna have flats quite as frequently, and you get some stability and float and comfort with that higher volume. Love the black spokes, the black rims by Alex Rim, and they've even, the branding is sort of subtly hidden on this. A lot of their accessories, including like the saddles and stuff, it's Ergon, but they just tie in so well. See, a lot of the cables and stuff are housed in this plastic cover, and in the past I've been a little bit like, okay, how sturdy is that? But it seems like it works pretty well, especially with the fender protecting it. You've got the quick disconnect back here, so you can do rear wheel maintenance, but again, hopefully not running into too many flat tire situations with this because of the thickness of the rubber. But then that impacts weight. There's just a lot of considerations, but they aren't missing anything. We got the bottle cage mount right here. You could potentially do a frame bag, that kind of thing. Approaching the bike, I noticed that there's not a whole lot of friction on the pedals when they spin back, and I mention that because sometimes I've been pedaling and slipped off and the pedal has hit me in the shin. Not a huge deal, but some of the other drivetrains might perform differently. And then the kickstand right there at the center of the bike can create pedal lock like this if you're backing it out, so make sure you kind of stow that before you get going. The bike is very balanced. This one in particular, I weighed it from like right here on the center of the frame, and it wasn't tipping forward or back too much. Shifting at standstill is possible with these internally geared hubs or mid shifting systems here. So for the pinion, you're bringing some of that weight lower and more centrally on the bike frame. That's another thing that sort of stood out, like why would you go with the Sturmy Archer versus the Pinion? You get a higher gear percentage spread on this, and you're shifting some of the weight forward. And what's this little thing here? I mean, I know, but tell me, what is that?
Tony?
Oh, he didn't know. I couldn't believe it. That's the horn. Yeah, I got you. So I think it's 95 decibels or something.
Yes,
do you want to do the horn?
Yeah, you ready?
Okay, yeah, yep. Oh my gosh. So this is truly like a commuting platform in the sense that you've got the strength, you've got the speed, the durability, the braking power, like so much, you know, they're expensive. But then
you get what you pay for.
You do get what you pay for. And I don't want to miss the mirror. Is that a Stromer thing?
This is just an extra add-on that we sell at the shop. Yeah, exactly. It
for
clicks
safety.
up and down into place. You know, a lot of mirrors that stick out tend to take a lot of impact and all that stuff. This one's actually designed to move so that it doesn't fracture should you have an accident.
Crumple zone.
Exactly. There you go.
I've heard that these belts, they're like 3 times longer lasting than chains.
I think that the belts themselves don't actually stretch. Usually what you're going to actually see is wearing out of the aluminum spider in the front. The rear is actually made of steel, so it's much more durable.
And it was 22 teeth. He helped me count this back at the shop. We got all the details back at ElectricBikeReview.com. We did this by hand. These guys helped a lot. So steel in the back, and then
That's right.
up front you can replace this belt ring or chain ring down here. This is 39 tooth. And I think even, you know, the crank arms and stuff, you could bolt different lengths if you wanted.
Absolutely. So 165, 170, 175 are your traditional lengths.
Yeah.
It is a standard spline count as well too. So let's just say somebody who's differently able that required a custom 155 or something like that. Those are available in the market. So it's basically
Differently able. Man, you're talking about me, right? We all have special needs, and I think it's actually coming back to that point I was making of like, this feels more open source than the ST5. I love the ST5, it's awesome.
Absolutely.
But to me, this is becoming like one of my favorite Stromers. I would probably get it with like the inverted Wren fork. It's neat to have so many options here, including the Roxim lights, because
Yes.
Stromer used to have Supernova.
which they do still use on the higher end ones, like
Okay.
the ST5 and the ST7.
Yeah.
They are considerably brighter as well too. So this one has a daytime running light of 600 lumens with a high beam of 900.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about the Roxims as well too, the internal construction is completely encased in epoxy, so they're very weather sealed. Theoretically, you could submerge it. I don't recommend
Wow.
submerging your electric bike, but the lights are robust enough to take some pretty big downpours.
Now, you know, I complain about stuff, or I bring it up. I have my critiques. So one of the areas that I want to highlight as being awesome is that when you turn the bike on, whoop, it's down here. It's the hidden switch. I always go to the button pad up here. I like how these are lit up. They're so reachable. And then we got the display down here. You do have to look down a little bit to get to it. But, you know, it's sleek, it's integrated, and then you have this area here. You can take the rubber thing off and mount your phone there.
Exactly.
Use the Stromer app, which has like GPS navigation, theft prevention.
Yep.
Can you do any tuning on like the different drive modes?
You
with
can,
that
so
too?
you can actually fine tune. So they're usually level 1, level 2, level 3, and then the ST3 will actually have the sport mode as well too. And you can fine tune how much power gets delivered in each of those levels as well too. Back to your anti-theft as well. Not only does it have its own SIM chip in there for GPS location,
Like a phone, like a SIM
phone,
card. It's
so that
built
you can
right in.
physically see on a map where your bike is.
Wow.
But it's also got an immobilization feature on it as well too. So if they start to roll it, it will actually activate the regenerative braking in the motor, giving it resistance, and it will make the horn beep like crazy, which draws a lot of attention to it.
Sounds like you've tried this.
It's happened to me in the shop when I'm servicing them, which is a little bit less fun, but it's good to know that those are secure. You know, if you're putting a considerable amount of investment into having an electric bike,
Yeah.
it's good to have some peace of mind.
And I've heard stories from different shops about being able to recover these bikes if
Yep.
they were stolen. So let me come back to the complaints though for a
Sure.
minute. No reflective sidewall stripes on the tires,
Right.
which is like, it's kind of a bummer. I was going to say there are no cutouts on the headlight, so you can't see it except from the front and sort of the front angles. However, we do have these running lights, and this is sort of always on, even if you
That's
try
correct.
to disable the headlight.
So
or
that's
something.
as per European law. They actually require that you do have a daytime running light on your
Yeah.
bikes. So those can't be turned off, essentially, which is kind of a good thing for a safety feature here. There's also a little bit of reflectivity in the paint itself as well too. So if a car is coming at you, sort of shining their headlights on you dead on, then you will get some reflectiveness.
And I should call out, you know, I'm a safety nut here, so having the integrated lights and bright lights, can you do the brakes real quick?
I certainly can.
Check out this rear light, it goes bright. And again, I mean, it's somewhat visible. I'm here wearing a brand new helmet today. Specialized sent this to me just for free. They're not paying me, it's not a promotion exactly, but I want to call it out. And it's white. I picked white because it is more high visibility and I want to be seen. That's why I got these white glasses. Anyway, the fact that you could get a white frame if you wanted to. Can we talk about the battery a little bit here? You know, to get this thing
Sure.
off, I think you eject it from the display, right?
So
You press
basically
that?
there's a button on the side here, but it will not unlock until the bike has been turned on, and then that basically pops out there. There's a nice handy handle on there.
And this is not the stock battery.
No.
It'll be 814, so that's 48 volts, 17 amp hours for the stock battery. But these are interchangeable, right? Like
Totally,
the
same
batteries.
size compartment. So if you wanted to buy a secondary battery to effectively double your range, you can choose from anyone in the lineup and it'll still fit in your bike.
Yeah, you get a couple of these bikes and you could, you know, so the battery is, I mean, it's just a big block, it's pretty big. Sometimes with e-bikes, I'm like, oh, you could get a second battery and put it in your bag or your basket. Not the case here. I think it's more like one battery is more than enough, especially with the regenerative braking and some of those efficiencies. So it's big, it's fairly heavy, the stock battery being about 10.5 pounds. And the same could be said for the charger. Look at this thing. To me, I'm always like, man, it's huge, but it's 4.5 amps. I mean, a traditional, you know, kind of a basic e-bike, you get like a 2 amp charger. So 4.5, I mean, you need that when you have such a high capacity battery, but it does weigh like 2.7 pounds. Here's some of the other stuff you'd get with the bike. So you've got some different mounts for like the phone and stuff that we talked about, some of the manuals and reflectors. There's this nice slap bracelet that they give you that is reflective, huh? And then it goes around your pants, so you don't snag that on the drivetrain here, the belt, which again, you'll notice there isn't like a cover for that, but it's not like greasy, and it doesn't gonna snag as much as a chain. And it's really tight. I think you'll notice this doesn't have like a sliding horizontal dropout. They're able to overcome that by having this belt tensioner at the middle of the frame. So what else are we missing? What else do you want to talk about here?
I think you've covered a very, very decent amount of it, to be honest with you.
I just want to make you happy, Ryan. I'm doing my best.
You did really good about as far as the gear ratios and stuff are concerned. One thing I will correct, rather than a 10-degree rise, it's actually a 20-degree rise.
Is it 20?
Yep.
Oh,
so it's 105 versus 110 centimeter length. Or sorry, millimeter length, I should say.
Nice.
But other than that, yeah, no, you did a really great job covering all the basics there for sure.
Now tell me about this. What's going on over here? It's like we've got this foam mount instead of the one that would go here. Why did you do that?
Well, this is actually customer's preference, and this is for their Garmin. So they like to track their rides. And now the benefit to that is, again, depending if you want to use this for your phone and still use your Garmin, then you can have both of them on there. But again, this was just a customer's preference that we did for this particular bike here.
And the mirror and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And then this is one of the bags that's sort of RackTime compatible. And
it's a trunk bag, essentially, is what they're called.
Stromer branded.
Yep.
And it's got the little reflective thing there with a light clasp, so you could, like, there's just the opening for adding a light.
And then water sealed zippers as well too.
Really nice.
Not quite as waterproof as the camping dry bag style pannier, obviously, but still good water retention for our Vancouver climate here.
And you mentioned that the Kinekt suspension post, which has different color springs for different weights, and it's adjustable back here. Really nice setup. If you could only afford one, the Wren or the seat post, what would you go for?
Personally, I would probably go for the fork. The main reason being a suspension fork will actually help keep the tire on the road better.
Sure.
Whereas the seat post for me would be more of a comfort option.
Yeah.
And the fork would definitely be more traction and safety. So
I agree with you. And for me, it's partially because my wrists are sensitive. So this is going to take probably more of that impact.
Absolutely, yeah.
For steering. So that was a good point about control. And then back here we have the basket with it's kind of a bamboo deck. And take this into the grocery store. That's really nice. Which model is this one?
So this is the ST2 in the step through with the Gates carbon drive and the Sturmy Archer C50 hub.
Tell me more about the C50 hub. I mean, it's kind of neat how there's a motor on the outside and then the middle is like an internally geared hub.
Yep, pretty much the only motor on the market that is doing so. The motor manufacturer is the TDCM Motor Company out of Taiwan.
Yeah.
And Sturmy Archer's been around since, 60s, I would say.
Doing listen to the name, hubs. Sturmy Archer. Yeah, it's
exactly.
Vintage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love them.
And again, completely maintenance. I wouldn't say maintenance free, but every 10,000K that cartridge could be pulled out and then submerged in an oil bath solution.
Interesting.
But again, compared to an external drivetrain where you're replacing chains every 1,500 to 2,500K, the cost is definitely a lot less. And again, I also really like the streamlined look of it as well too. You don't have a derailleur protruding.
Oh,
Should you impact it and bend the derailleur hanger, you're not going to get stuck on the side of the road somewhere with a broken drivetrain.
Yeah,
so again,
even a bike rack. You're parked there and someone kicks your derailleur. Yeah, I find myself like attracted to different aspects of each bike.
Right.
I must say, I am a big fan of the traditional cassette derailleur because it's so fast. It's it's like a manual car, a little like chink chink chink. I haven't spent enough time on this to know yet, but the durability is a really big sell.
Absolutely. And again, very, very little parts to service. So now if you're going to be replacing an XT drivetrain with a 4611 ratio, then you're going to want to be doing it with something similar or better, given that these are both the same sort of model, right? So again, more robust, more ratio from start to finish, so better climbability. You can actually help the bike a lot more, especially on steep conditions, which will of course give you longer battery life and all that sort of stuff.
And the pedaling on these bikes, this is a torque and kind of multi-sensing. Doesn't it also have like an inclinometer?
Yep, exactly. There's a gyrometer in it which will measure your incline. Torque sensor is actually located in the rear chainstay as well too, so it measures the force via, you know, movement of the back wheel from pedal input.
Yeah.
And very direct, very smooth power. Again, being that it's not a geared motor, the torque isn't very abrupt. It's very nice and smooth.
It's fluid, and it's
yes.
so satisfying. I mean, this, when you take off on one of these bikes, you really go.
It rips.
Yeah, especially the high levels. So 3 levels of assist. Let's go back to the interface here. So the battery's on it. We press the little rubber button on the bottom, which is nicely hidden down there. We do have like a light sensor. Okay.
So it takes a second to boot up, and then of course when you have this, you can see there that is now locked. So as you can see, this particular bike here is password protected.
Wow.
So we've just got our generic code in there.
So you don't have to use the app to password protect.
No, you don't even need your phone anywhere in proximity, because again, it's got its own SIM card in there. You can see in the little corner there, we've got a 4G signal.
Wow. And the interface here, again, you got your basic readouts. It's like speed in the middle, battery percentage, which is much more precise than just like an infographic with bars. And then we got the different levels of assist, which you can adjust with the button pad up here. I always find myself like wanting to push this because I'm looking at it, but you touch the display and it cycles through the readouts. So clock, trip speed, trip distance, trip time, and then you're back to the front. So, you know, 1, 2, 3, and then the sport mode is only on the ST5?
Well, yeah, on the ST5, and I believe there is a model of the ST3 as well too. So while you're pedaling, you can hit the plus, and then you'll see after the 3 will light up a little red S, and that just gives you a temporary little boost of power.
Okay, and on this one you can take it down to 1 and
0
none
as well too.
And if you hold minus for a little while, you get recoup, so you can do multiple levels of recoup. So if you're going down a huge hill, it's just like, yeah, it's regenerative braking, and you're charging the battery.
Exactly, which also puts less wear and tear on your actual braking components as well.
Brake pads.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, your hands up here.
Yep.
This is so cool. And again, it's all accessible up here. You don't have to take your hands off. You've got that safety and control aspect of the design, the human computer interface. So I guess I just hold plus again for a couple seconds. We come back here.
You can access your menu basically by hitting the power button one more time, and you'll see there's a number of things that you can do here. So you can recalibrate your torque sensors, you can eject the battery, you can go into your actual menu, and you can mess with certain things like system settings and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
There's even a service menu as well too that we have a little trick for getting into at the shop. So a very comprehensive little system there for sure.
Move, so that's walk mode.
Yep.
I've reviewed this same system on some of the other bikes, but it's wonderful to do a walkthrough with someone who's so knowledgeable. So I appreciate that, Ryan. This is awesome. Let's take it for a ride.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm in the highest level of assist. I like to do this so you could listen for any noise and also see how fast it accelerates. I find this system to be extremely quiet, and I think you'll see that right now. It's silent. I can't hear it. And you just feel like, I feel the tires and the air pressure and stuff just giving me that comfort and vibration dampening that on a cobblestone section like this, I mean, the bike feels smooth, it's comfortable, it's not vibrating a lot, and I really like that. It accelerates so fast, it's like I jumped up to 7 here.
Gone. And really good brakes.
Really good and smooth too. I mean, I'm feeling the recoup, like these do activate a little bit of regeneration, and then obviously the braking, and just how quiet it is riding together.
Nice upright riding position with the comfort stem as well too. My back is still very straight.
What size is that frame, do you know?
This one is a medium.
Nice.
And I'm about 5'9.5" or so.
Hey, I'm 5'9" too.
There we go. So 32-inch inseam, this works perfectly for me.
Nice. There he goes. Very stable as well. Easy shifting. I've really become a fan of that pinion. There's the brakes, brake light. So sometimes, you know, you're riding and you're in this high gear and you get to like a stop sign and you forget to downshift. And I just love, I mean, you can just shift at standstill, and there's a little bit of effort in that twist shifter, but it feels very sturdy.
Oh yes.
It accelerates so fast. It's like I jump up to 7th gear almost immediately, it seems like. Yeah, nice, man. Did you know that this one,
that was a beep.
Huh.
It just depends. I mean, if there's different production runs,
Yeah,
that I find that'll equip with a couple different things. So, but it's equally as loud, thankfully. So.
it is. Woohoo!
This one sounds like a Best Buy.
It does. I kind of like that one. It's cute.
Yeah.
Beep, beep. There we go. Yeah, I feel like the pinion shifts really quickly.
Yeah.
I'm shifting like 3 gears right off the bat.
Which I tend to do with an external too. I'll get my RPMs going and bam, bam, and then...
Once when you're pedaling and you've got that, you know how to shift, so. Well guys, that's about it. I had so much fun. Again, Reckless Shipyard's just over there. If you're ever at the shipyards in North Vancouver, you got a bunch of different Stromers. You can take a test ride and stuff. It sounds like Stromer also has like a crash alert system they're working on. Because it has the SIM card and everything, it could call for help, which is wonderful to hear. For the full written review, check out ElectricBikeReview.com. I got all the specs hand measured, and you know, I also observe what they say on the website or refer to some of the shops on the details, because these bikes are so sophisticated. I've got a comparison tool so you can look at some of these back to back, and forums so you can ask people what the best accessories are. I love you guys, ride safe, and we'll see you next time.